Hey, it's Alabama Annie with another episode of Stories and Songs for you. Now, if you've been keeping up with my podcast, you might have encountered the story I'm going to mention entitled Fat Man Squeeze. It was a story about some boys who had a misadventure on the side of Lookout Mountain and got into a lot of trouble for it. Well, this is another story about the same boys and another misadventure. This one takes place during the Civil War, just before the campaign on Chattanooga, when Union soldiers were moving across Lookout Mountain heading north. And so it's entitled Hank Jones, the Accidental Ghost. And here's the gist of it. I'll just tell it to you. Um, those same boys decided they would sneak off up on Lookout Mountain to see if they could see the Union soldiers when they came passing through, because they were too young to enlist, but they wanted to see the soldiers and see them march. And so they went up on the side of the mountain. It was a beautiful sunny day, kind of like today here, with the leaves turning and the sun's out and it's kind of warm. And so they're up there on the side of the mountain just having a high old time. But it's come a storm the week before, and trees and limbs have fallen. And so they're having to climb up and over things. And they made a game of that. We're having a great time. And just when they get almost to the top of the mountain, one of the boys sees something over to his right, and he looks closer and he stops his friends and says, "Be quiet. There's a Union soldier right over there propped against a tree asleep." And there he was. It was a young boy. Turns out he was only 17 years old, and he was a part of the 25th Infantry from Indiana. Well, they devise a plan because one of the boys has some rope and a knife, and they decide to go and tie him to the tree and steal his Union pack and run away with it and leave him there because they know he'll get loose. The soldiers will come through and let him go. And it didn't turn out that way. But they run over to the guy and they tie him up while he's still snoozing in the sun. And he wakes up and he discovers that he's tied to the tree. And he starts to get all upset and he's cussing and kicking and carrying on. And one of the boys grabs up his rifle and holds it and points it at the soldier. And the other boy that has the knife and the rope asks the guy, he says, "What's your name? Tell us your name." And he goes, "I don't have to tell you anything. You're not the home guard. You're just a bunch of kids, and you're about to get yourselves in a world of trouble." And he's still cussing and raising heck at him. And he kicks out at the boy who's got the rifle and knocks him off balance. And when he does that, the rifle goes off and it shoots Hank Jones in the left side. And he screams out, "Oh my God, you've done shot me." And he falls over unconscious right there at the tree. And they're going to untie him. They're going to see if they've killed him. And but about that time, they hear sounds from the top of the mountain, just about 1,000 yards above them. And they can see silhouettes of horses and soldiers coming by. So they get the heck out of there. They run away, leave him tied to the tree. They don't know if he's dead or alive. They run back down the mountain. But just as they get to the foot of the mountain, the home guard rides by. And the head guy named Jeb Walker asked them, "What are you boys doing up here?" And they said, "Oh, we're just out gathering firewood and having fun, whatever." And so he says, "Well, get off the mountain because the Union Army may be coming through." And so he asked, "Did you boys happen to hear a shot a few minutes ago?" And one of the boys says, "Yeah," but he lies and he said, "It came from over that way." Well, anyway, so they run on home. And when they get home, two of the boys go to the barn and hide the pack in the barn. And the other boy has to run home all the way back to his house. And so that night, none of them slept well because they didn't really know what happened to the guy. If he got loose, if he called out to the other soldiers and they came and got him untied from the tree, or whether he was still there. And so things got busy and the gardens were coming in, and one of the boys had to pick beans, another one had to take care of the cows, and life got in the way. And then one afternoon, one of the boys thought he might run up on the mountain again just to see if the rope was still there or anything. But he doesn't get the chance to. Then a couple of Sundays later, a lady who lives off on the side of the mountain tells a tale. She says, she said, a couple of weeks ago, I heard what sounded like human screams coming from up behind my house on the side of the mountain. And she said, and I didn't know what on earth it was. And then she said, one of my coon dogs brought home a bone, and it looked like a human bone. But some guy laughs and he says, no, it wasn't a human bone, that's a deer bone, and just passes it off. But a few days later, her dog comes home with another bone, and this time there's no question whatsoever that it is not part of a human body. And so she says, see, I told you. So then the home guard and the constable go up on the side of Lookout Mountain to see what they can find. And they find Hank Jones still tied to that tree, missing an arm and part of a leg, and he's all chewed up, but there are little rags and pieces of his uniform left, and his rifle's laying over to one side. And so they get him and very respectfully put him on a carry thing and bring him down the side of the mountain to the general store, where they put his body in the back room on a bench. And so everybody's talking about the body, the Union soldier's body they found on the side of Lookout Mountain, and everybody wants to see it, and the boys hear about it, and they're thinking, oh my gosh, we're in it now. But nobody ever questions there for a while, until one of the boys, the one who hid the pack in the barn, starts to feel so guilty and so remorseful. He gets that pack and he looks inside it, and he sees a locket with a picture of a pretty girl inside it, and he figures that was Hank Jones' girlfriend. And then he finds a letter from Hank Jones' mother telling him how much she wishes he could come home. And he's brokenhearted, and he knows he's got to do the right thing. So he takes that pack to the general store, gives it to the constable, and says, I confess I did it, and tells him that it was an accident. And so they commended the boy. He never ratted on his two friends that were with him. But they commended the boy on telling the truth, and they took Hank Jones' personal items and what was left of him, and had a nice coffin built and put it on a train with his belongings and had it shipped home to his family. And that is the story of Hank Jones, the accidental ghost. And I hope you enjoyed it. Now here's a little bit of a song to round this off. It's a song I wrote with my husband Paul about 30-something years ago now. And then I tried to rewrite it about 20 years ago, but nothing came. So I'm just going to play you the first verse of it. I've been wrong, and I guess you have been right. I've been wrong, and I guess you have been right. I've been down so long, I can't see the morning light. But when I come walking home tonight, Lord, please turn on the porch light. Turn on the porch light. Turn on the porch light. All right. I think that would have been an appropriate song if Hank Jones' ghost were walking down the road toward home. Have a good one.